Good evening, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
So, before we get started here, I would like to take attendance. I want to welcome you to the Audit and Finance Committee Budget Report meeting. And I would like to do a roll call here so that we can see everyone that is on the legislature who is in attendance, okay? All right, I'll go down. Mr. Clay?
Bill Clay, 12.
Dave Mayo, 20, Latham.
Paul Bergdorf, 23. Latham, Loudonville, Village of Colony.
Ray Joyce, 13.
John Frenier, 17.
Levitt, 15, Colony, and Wannabe.
Vicky Plotsky, 38.
Sean Ward, 60.
Frank Moriello, 27, Colony.
Dennis Feeney, 28, Gilliland.
Merton Simpson, District 2.
Mark Grimm, 29th, Guilderland.
Lynn Lakakis, 8th, Albany.
One Willingham, 3rd Legislative District. Good evening, everyone. So we are present tonight to present the initial assessment for the hearing that will take place on the 19th. All right, and we have to move this forward tonight so that we can have at least five days prior to the public hearing, which will be tomorrow. So this will go out tomorrow, okay? And so we're going to start with we're going to take this department by department, okay? And we're going to start with the county executive.
Madam Chairman,
Yes, sir.
could I just ask a basic question? Could somebody give us a summary of what all these numbers mean? And when I say what do they mean, county executive's budget, which was, a minimal tax cut, at a $3.51.2 per thousand tax rate. With all these proposed additions and deletions, how does that compare? Are we above it or are we below it? Somebody needs to.
So I'm just gonna step in if you're all right with that. I'm gonna direct you to the chairman's office staff. These changes that just came in recently, so we're gonna need some explanation from the chairman's office staff.
The short explanation is the draft as we have here is slightly lower on the tax rate. Tax levy is proposed to be reduced as well, but that may change based on decisions that are made here and made in between now and the 20th.
So it is, the cumulative effect of this document, assuming all the pieces withstand tonight, is more favorable for the Albany taxpayer than the county executive's version.
Right, that's correct, and I would urge caution because changes could occur tonight and could occur between now and the time the final audit and finance budget is adopted and the time the final budget is adopted by the full legislature.
All right, are we ready? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mr.
I'm not on
Moore.
the committee, but I just want to make sure I heard that right. You said the tax levy is up, but the rate is down?
No,
Both down.
Both down.
Both down, all right, okay. I was wondering how that could happen. Thank you.
That could happen.
I heard it.
Mr. Smith, so we're waiting for you.
You want to sit?
Sure, here.
There's chairs. Plenty of chairs.
Thanks.
Got a handout?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, again, we're going to start by department. And any changes that we make, or any, if there's motions made to accept, it will be by department. All right? So we're going to start with the county executive. Would I like, any comments?
Just
Madam Chair, just to be clear, so this $19,000 decrease means the increase for the county executive will be 2%? Or is that 2% for next year or 2% for the succeeding 4 years?
This is just a 2%. Okay.
But my understanding is they
This-
can't change it in the next term, am I right?
That's correct, you
Till the
can't
next
change salaries midterm.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
So by adopting 2% here today, it would be 2, 2, 2, and 2.
I think we need to clarify.
So Mike, I'm gonna defer to you to jump in there.
Yeah,
That would look like 8.
so strictly speaking, the spreadsheet you have in front of you relates only to the 2020 proposed budget. In years past, when there has been a split over a 4-year time, that was done by an accompanying resolution.
Okay.
But if you can't change a salary during a term, the salary you set for the first year would have to stay for the term, right?
Like ours, yeah.
On absent a resolution approved by the body
Yeah.
that approved before the term begins, that says and spells out a 4-year progress. That's been practice here for some time.
Yeah.
I defer to council on the history here.
That's correct. We've done over the last couple terms, it's been split up. The decision was made to do increases over a term, but it's set at the beginning of the term. So in other words, under the county law, that is an allowable way to go. You could set the salary through resolution in stages. In other words, 3% each year, which is what the clerk is currently under. That's been done numerous times in the past, and that's an option that the legislature always has the ability to go with. But it has to be done through resolution at the beginning of the term. Once the term begins, you're right, Mr. Berghoff, you cannot increase it beyond what was set at the start of the term.
So is it the sense of the body that this would be a 2, 2, 2, or 2? Or is it possible that there could be a resolution that would pop up at some point in time that said 2, 3, 4,
It would
and
have to be
5?
a separate accompanying resolution. So there's nothing in here that shows intent. This is, there's no decisions being made to the point, to the chairwoman's point earlier. This is simply to get a report out publicly and into the hands of a public hearing. That's already on the schedule.
Okay.
Mr. Joyce?
Well, I just wanted to clarify, Mr. Bergdorf, he was saying 2, 2, 2, and 2. This is just 2% for 4 years, not 2% each year.
Not an additional 2% each year.
Right, so 2% as opposed to a 15% raise, it's now a 2% raise for 4 years.
No, that's not what
Unless
they're
it's a
saying.
resolution.
They're saying this is just for 2020.
That's correct, but we can't, after...
Can't change it
we
after-
can't
No,
change it.
but what they just said.
Unless we do the resolution.
Exactly.
Before the term begins.
Right,
Okay.
but it's not 2, 2, and 2, and 2. We do, right?
Yeah.
Unless you do the resolution.
Okay, I got that.
Doesn't really integrate well with what we're discussing right now, if it's that.
It's a different question. Resolution is a different question.
Are we clear? All right, so if, just for clarity's sake, can you explain the 2%, if we go with 2%? So whatever his salary is now, he could start out 2020 with 1.2% of what it is now. And 2021, it would be another 1.2% of what his salary was for 2020?
No, so this
Wait,
is,
wait, wait.
no, so this is, and again, I'm gonna have to direct you to the chair's office. What it appears to be is a 2% raise for the county executive at the beginning of his term. Absent further action, that's what it is. Absent any further action, that's what this is, as it's been proposed.
That's right.
Exactly.
So are we clear now? I am.
Feeling good.
All right.
Do you need entertain a motion to approve what's in the county executive's area.
So moved.
Okay, so I have a motion from Mr. Clay to approve what has been put forward here for the county executive department. Can I get a second? I got a second from Mr. Mayo. All right, all those in favor? Is that, can I see your hand, something? Okay, that's unanimous then, okay, thank you. All right, let's go to audit and control. And again, this is the comptroller's office. Any questions?
Motion move.
Just,
Okay.
Madam Chair, yeah. I just want to be clear, this is not a 2% raise. This is the current salary,
Yes, sir.
is that right?
Yes, sir.
Because that's a change from yesterday's thing, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a quick change internally.
The idea is, the new person is not getting more than the person that's been there for like 24 years.
Well, I can say that we've heard from a number of members on both sides of the aisle that they prefer it to be flat.
Okay, all right, good. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, I just want to be clear as well here. In this instance, absent a resolution for years 2, 3, and 4, that would be the salary for the entire term of office.
Yes. This is for 2020.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll second the motion.
All right, so you making a motion?
No, I'm seconding his.
Wait a minute.
If we're still on that.
Okay, we're on the comptroller. Okay,
I
Mr.
thought-
Bergdorf just made a comment. Are there any more comments? If not, can I get a motion?
Motion move.
I got a motion from Mr. Joyce. Can I get a second?
Yes.
I got a second from Ms. Lapakis. I got a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Unanimous?
County clerk.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the county clerk now. Any comments?
You got Sean.
Got your hand up? Okay. Mr. Ward?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I noticed throughout the whole document, there's been substantial decreases in hospital medical. Is there an explanation for that? Have we overlooked that for years?
So I'm going to direct you to the chair's office again on that.
Sure. So I'm going to introduce Eric Ford, and those of you who don't know Eric, he's been working with the chairman's office for a short period of time. Those of you who've been around longer know him as experienced in the accountant's department and budget. So I'll let Eric explain.
Sure. So the general approach in taking a look at the hospital medical line as well as the other lines that you see is to sort of take a look at the current expenditure patterns and then calibrate what you see in terms of what we would consider available funds to what's been happening over the last 3 to 4 years within the account. And when you see the hospital medical piece, there are 2 thresholds. One, it had to be under expending in the current year by $100,000 before we took a cut, or $100,000 or more before we took a cut. And generally, when we took that cut, it was less than 50% of what we would have seen as the savings that would be accrued to that particular methodology, such that in no instance are we undercutting the department such that they can't meet their obligations to pay health insurance.
It appears that our experience is higher than what we're projecting here, our previous experience. Am I reading that right?
I guess how I would read it is, the experience that we've had over the last 3 to 4 years in terms of what we pay in premium. There's the experience and then there's the premium that comes as a result of the experience. And what we pay in actual premium, or what we pay from year to year in premium, has tended to be going this way, and we haven't necessarily adjusted what we would appropriate to the departments related to that trending.
So I'm reading it wrong then. Our experience is actually lower than your peers?
I can't speak, I have not necessarily seen the data that you're referring to. I can only speak to what we actually do in terms of spending from year to year. And when we take a look at those patterns, they support the cuts.
Okay.
Okay?
Do I have any other questions? Mr. Grimm?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, it's my impression that we may have gone a little too far on the hospital medical in terms of the cuts. Now, actually, they're spread out throughout the document, so this will keep popping up again. I believe there needs to be a negotiation between the legislature and the county executive as to what the right number is for this, because I'm not prepared to ultimately agree to this substantial cut in hospital medical. But we'll have an opportunity in 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
To do it. I just want to make that clear that the
Yes.
current state I don't agree with, but I think this is really an ip for negotiation.
Yes,
Okay.
Just to put
Yeah.
a little more detail to what Mr. Fogg was describing, we took two statistics, one a 4-year average of actual experience, and the trend for 2019 projected year end, took that delta between the budget number and what that number, that average calculation comes out to be, and we're very, very much to the low end of that range. So these numbers you see here are, in my view, consistent.
Well, the Office of Management Budget, I think they have a different view. So I think this is really a serious negotiation that needs to take place. And then I'll make my judgment based on the subsequent document in 2 weeks.
Right, and we do have, I just want to make this clear, we do have another audit and finance budget meeting on the 20th, and so all the way up until then, you know, negotiations and changes can happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much for recognizing me, Madam Chair. One of the things that is a common practice among counties, especially, specifically self-insured counties, is what they do is always overestimate healthcare costs, and then you get to sweep that money into reserve. And that has been a common practice. The reason I have had a very long education in this subject matter since 2013 when working on legislation in my other role, specific to self-insured counties. And that is a way how counties build up reserves, and it's also, they sweep that money back in. So it's a very, very common practice to overestimate your healthcare costs, because that's where they find sort of slush money.
All right.
A little education I got in it, from talking actually to about 6 different counties.
I mean, there's a
Yeah.
different point of view
Yeah.
on that, but I appreciate that.
Thank you, Ms. McClintock.
Thank
Are
you.
there any more comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Motion.
I got a motion from Mr. Clay. I got a second from Mr. Joyce. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. All right, we're gonna move on to the district attorney now. Give you just a minute or two to peruse this. Not maybe a minute. Mr. Bergdorf.
Now, I understand that the county executive, in his proposal, proposed 6 new positions for the district attorney. So we would be creating another 3. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So it'd be a total of 9 new positions. But the county executive also told us that he was putting money in the contingent account for new positions that probation or the district attorney might need. Have we taken these 3 positions since we've decided to grant them here? Have we taken them out of the contingent? Have we made a subsequent debit from the contingent account?
Well, no.
Why would we not do that?
I guess if I'm to understand this, and somebody can help me with this. First of all, he put in 6. After talks with the district attorney, there were some other thoughts that he had. Based upon the conversation with him, we added these 3.
Okay, got
All
it.
right? So the contingent account is based upon experience. In other words, if a position is needed, then that's where the money would come from. That's really what that means, okay? Not that we have promised every position that he asked for. That's why we're only giving 3. That's why he only gave 6. But there is money in the contingent account based upon the experience as we move forward into the future. If there is a need for additional positions, then that's where we would get the money from.
I guess what I'm saying,
Isn't that correct?
I guess what I'm saying is I understand that there's $775,000 in the contingent account right now. And we're proposing, as part of this, to increase it another $325,000 so that the contingent account would be over $1 million. So somehow, the way I'm looking at this is the county executive created a pot of money for positions above what he proposed. So now we've granted 3 of them. But we haven't made any subtraction from the money available for new positions. And I'm just pointing out that, to me, that appears inconsistent.
Because, let me, if I can step in. But remember this one thing though. The county exec did not give the DA's office all of the positions that he wanted. We didn't either.
Oh, I understand that.
Okay,
I understand that.
but not only that, what we realize is that we do have to wait to see what the experience is going to be. He still may not need those positions. And the contingent account.
Paul, by the way, he asked for 12 positions, including.
Yes, it's 35.
He said he has 69 and he needs 69 and he wants 38.
It was, at this point.
He may need those attorneys down the road, but it's kind of like a wait and see.
Okay, so that's why the money was left in the contingent account.
And keep it
Okay,
in
well,
mind,
that's a, thank you for that explanation.
but keep in
I appreciate
mind too, Mr. Bergdorf, we did not put enough money, I believe, in the contingent account for 35 positions. And the contingent account is not only used for new positions, isn't that correct?
The contingent account is, according to the narrative of the county executive's budget, 300 of it is reserved, and 300 of it is reserved for probation. But again, to the chairwoman's point, only if needed as going forward.
Where are we now?
Mr. Grimm?
Yeah, Madam Chair, my understanding of the contingent account is that's money based on how we choose to use it. In other words, the county executive might have some ideas on how we might spend it, but ultimately, we make the decisions on how to spend every dollar there. Have I got that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. Now, I just feel like, wouldn't it be more sensible to give them the 6 positions and wait and see if they need the 3, then we could go to the contingency account? What do you think?
I guess when you say would it make more sense, this was the sense that was made. And it was made to
No, I
give-
mean, there's 2 different points of view, but I'm just.
3 positions. I mean, he started out with 35.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Okay.
that was crazy.
And then he dropped down, but after conversations, not only with the DA's office, but with, other people, we decided on this right here, and with the notion that we do have some money to be able to, from the contingent account, for new positions, if needed.
Okay. And just another question I also have is, there's a lot of decreases in departments, and when we get to the DA, there's no decreases. And it seems to me, that, given that they're the biggest askers, big ask of this budget process, that there should be ways they could find ways of saving apart from, you know, pitching in a little, if you will. That's just the sense that I have. Thank you.
Where are we now?
District Attorney.
All right, are there any other comments? If not, can I get a motion? I got a motion from Mr. Clay, I got a second from Mr. Mayo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Is that unanimous?
No, opposed.
Unanimous. Oh, and one opposed, Mr. Clay. Now we're on to the Sheriff's Department.
It would be nice if there was a
Are there any comments on the Sheriff's Department? Yes, Mr. Bergdorf.
Has anybody run any of these, forget the salary issue, okay? Has anybody run any of these numbers past the sheriff in light of the fact that there are new facilities in Clarksville, there's gonna be a new 9/11 facility, there's gonna be a new maintenance garage, there are gonna be all sorts of new needs in the year 2020.
Are you talking about capital expenses, or? Yeah, I was just wondering, it's specific
For
for capital.
example, they've got, you know, 3,000 square feet in Voorheesville, and they're gonna have 25,000 square feet that they're gonna have to heat. And they're gonna have major new energy costs, stuff like that.
I would, when the project is finished, so right today, first of all, those facilities don't have electricity, heat, and utilities because it's an occupied building of the nursing home, for example. The Clarksville building is what it is. We don't expect any major changes, other than I understand he's building a garage for vehicles. So I would suggest that, given the same sort of history behind the utilities and the standard operating costs, that this was based in the same manner as the other budgets that we just talked about. And we're not seeing or hearing any reason to make an adjustment based on the fact that he's moving to the nursing home, other than capital expenses that are going to be part of the capital.
Will this be the subject of negotiation with the sheriff in the coming week?
You mean, is it subject to negotiation?
Yeah.
Sure. Sure. Absolutely. Again, there's another meeting on the 20th that we have, so in between now and then, yes.
But to answer your question, Paul, is he aware? Yes.
He is aware of these numbers.
Yep.
Are there any other comments? Ms. Mayo.
Mr. Chairman, I was just wondering about these small increases in the different line items. I think that's something new, but $2,500.
The management.
Yes.
Yeah, so I would ask the budget director to comment.
Yeah, subsequent to the budget, when working with the sheriff, these were incorrect represented salaries by his request, and then the 2% raise never got added to them.
Okay.
Are there any other comments? If not, can I have a motion? I got a motion from Mr. Mayo. Can I get a second? Second. I got a second from Mr. Cactus. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. All right, the next department is probation. On page 3. If there are no comments, can I get a motion to, I got a motion from Mr. Mayo, can I get a second? I
Second.
got a second from Mr. Clay, to pass without change. All those in favor, let it know by be saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No, unanimous. Okay, let's move on to the Public Defender's Office. Any comments?
Motion moved.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. Joyce.
Second?
I got a second from Mr. Katz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the alternate public defender.
Motion moved.
I got a motion from Mr. Joyce. I got a second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Let's move on to law.
Motion moved.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. Joyce.
I'll
Second from Mr. Mayo. All those in favor?
Those together.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Passed without change. All right, management and budget.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Grimm.
Thank you. Yeah, there's two positions added here. It's my understanding that the Office of Management Budget was not consulted. Could you give me the reason why these two positions were added and what we would expect from them?
The reason they were added was because of the continual theme about abandoned properties in Albany County and the city in particular, and the fact that they may need some more assistance in moving through the foreclosure process more quickly. And if Mr. Thalen has any further comment, I'd welcome it.
Yes, I believe at some previous meetings, it was brought up by legislators that the foreclosure cycle was extended no longer than would the body would have liked. So I believe that that is the goal of these positions, from how it was explained.
So what do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah, you're the head of the department.
I can always find work for people. I would love to get, we have done well in my 4 years shortening the cycle that we.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
When we started going to the land bank, and there's been rough times, not everything has gone smoothly, but I think we've managed to get a good grasp of that. We've now are on a 5-year cycle. Ultimately, getting down to a 4-year cycle would probably be what's best, with general municipal law and saying what we can and cannot do, along with being responsible to the taxpayers, because when you start shortening that cycle up, you really start to affect the seniors, because those are the people that get behind it first. They're fixed income, people that have lived in their houses, and going too short on a time schedule can be detrimental to that. So.
I just wonder, wouldn't it be a better idea to just try one and see how that works out before we hire 2 of them?
I'd leave it to the budget director, but the idea was 2, keeping in mind that the property managers, if I'm not mistaken, are the folks that actually go out and do the initial inspections.
Yeah, so
these are actually in finance department, I
Yes.
believe, under management budget.
Yeah, finance in the division.
So they wouldn't report to you, they would...
Ultimately, yes, but I mean, I'm not the hands-on day-to-day guy for property inspections. I get the certified roll, the foreclosure packets for people that have fallen in arrears. And then I divvy that out to do pre-inspection work and then post-foreclosure work. So there's a pre and a post aspect of what we do. We do initial inspections and then monitor the properties, and then when it actually transfers to us, then we actually physically have to do stuff like take care of that property.
Would these managers, would they save the county money if they...
Emergency demolitions.
I would
That's what I want to know.
really hope for that, because yes, that is
Yeah, it's really
definitely
hard.
something that happens often in
Close costs.
the city.
Get it back on the
Taxes.
quicker.
The emergency demolitions
Okay.
would be the one thing that we really could save money on, with the cooperation to do good in that respect.
Thank you. Mr. Ward?
I am always sympathetic to the senior citizen or anybody who, has a hard time paying their tax bill, but we have a lot of cases in Albany County where people are just abandoning properties. And you say that we're on a 5-year tax cycle. I believe the state just authorized we can start the process after 2.
Under certain circumstances, I believe that is true. I have not brushed up on that litigation yet. I think it comes into effect later on.
I think it's
January.
Yeah. Or it's coming soon.
Yes. I can't remember if it's January 1 or April 1, it's timeframe. So I'm not the most informed on that at this moment.
I just read something about it.
Yeah. It is an aspect to definitely look at to combat the decay. You know, people that walk away from properties. If you see an abandoned property and if proceedings within that municipality would take place and start the process of, you know, trying to make that a more functional property, that is definitely a tool that we would like to see if it doesn't affect, you know, people in a negative way.
Well, it will, but there are there's more cases of abandonment than there is hardship. And the problem, as I've seen it over the years, watching the foreclosure process, I think the property managers would be very valuable. But my understanding is we only have one attorney that handles the legal aspects of the whole process, and he has over 1,000 properties, right?
We have a primary. We have people that help, but we do have a primary that handles most of the properties. Yes.
Okay. So I'm wondering if that might be an issue that we have to look at.
It's definitely something we can. You know, a lot of these cases are very routine, and I'm not a lawyer, and excuse me from the lawyers at the table. I'm guessing though that most cases are routine, probably a good 95%, and then the other 5% are probably very dedicated, like it take a lot of your time.
I think they're all dedicated. I'm just saying, are they overworked? And I'm not trying to add positions, but it seems to me that one attorney handling over 1,000 properties, that seems like a pretty heavy caseload. And, you know, all it takes, if you're out in the community, you get one bad property ruin a whole neighborhood. And a lot of neighborhoods have a lot more than one. And I think we should be doing whatever we can, with the state's help on legislation, but we should be doing whatever we can to stop decay in our neighborhoods. And I think it's a good move to create a couple of new positions. Hopefully that helps. But if the problem is the legal process, we gotta look at that too.
I can tell you, right now, I don't believe that there's any holdup for our transfers to the land bank. So, doing at least that section of the work, I don't think there's any holdups. Getting it from the foreclosure to the land bank. But I mean,
think
it's definitely
foreclosed as well. Going through the process.
So there's many aspects of that. There's title searching, there's, you know.
This is all legal work, that's why I'm bringing it up.
But we contract out most of the title searching. The title searching goes through a company, so it gets, you know, vetted independently. So that's a big aspect of it. But if you definitely want to have us sit down and look at all the facets, that's definitely something.
I think there's a lot of us here that are experiencing that, would be interested. Whatever we can do to further the process.
What I can tell you is, like, when we do set up payment plans, and we do have that, our, you know, success rate when that happens is well into the 90%. We vary, and I don't want to give you silly numbers.
I totally understand.
It's like 98% of our, you know, payment plan arrangements end up stopping that foreclosure process.
Mr. Thalen, we do realize that the foreclosure process, and with all of those, especially in my neighborhood, the red X's and so forth and so on is a real issue. So I think this is something that maybe we could have a separate meeting on for all those that are interested. And we can bring everybody in that can give us the information, and then we'll be able to form more, you know, educated ideas. Okay?
Thank you, Madam
We thank you for your input. Are there any other comments or questions? Mr. Miller.
Yeah. One other question. You indicated that you're doing contracted services to do the title search, or is there going to be enough funds in the contracted services if you start generating additional foreclosures?
if we started, I believe so. I don't want to say offhand, but I believe it's I believe it's like $250 per level 2 title search, and that's the in-depth one. I don't know how this new legislation, how many additional ones, but I can't see it being thousands.
Thank you.
I guess.
Are we ready for a motion?
Yes. Motion.
I got a motion from Mr. Clay, I got a second from Ms. Lakakis. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Thank you. All right, let's move on to social services. Any comments? Okay, I'll get a motion from Mr. Joyce. A second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Opposed, none, unanimous. All right, the nursing home.
Motion to move.
Got a motion from Ms. Lakakis. I got a second from Mr. Joyce. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. The health department.
Motion moved.
I got a motion from Mr. Joyce.
Second.
I got a second from Mr. Lakakis. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Mental health. Mr. Bergdorf?
This is another one where we are creating new positions, supervising social worker. Were these discussed with Commissioner Giordano? Do we know?
This is a result of Mr. Giordano's testimony before this committee hearing, and there was some concern among the membership that he didn't have enough staffing on the emergency response team. So this is in response to that concern. I'm not going to suggest that, I don't recall Mr. Giordano specifically pointed that out.
Well, what he also talked about, though, and I'll make that other argument, was that if he had a few more people, his overtime would go down dramatically.
That's partially, this is partially, it responds partially to that.
Okay. So, have we done a decrease anywhere in his overtime?
That's not included in this budget report.
Okay. Just point out the...
Oh, it's not spent. It's not spent.
But if it's not spent, it's taxed. So I think we should, if we are spending $160,000 to reduce overtime, we should be taking some sort of compensating credit from the overtime, so that we're not paying for it on both sides of the ledger.
Yep.
Just an observation.
Yeah, so we don't have time to do a very thorough analysis and get an analysis from mental health at this point in time. If there's room for an adjustment somewhere down the line, and we can do that. Again,
I throw it out
that
for
was
your
not
consideration.
Well, it was not a comment that Mr. Giordano brought up specifically in making the recommendation to reduce overtime.
Any other comments? I entertain a motion from Mr. Joyce. Second from Mr. Mayo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. So now let's move down to crime victims, aging in the Veterans Bureau and Human Resources Civil Service. I just want you to know they all four of them say pass without change. So.
Can you lump those together?
Group them?
We should go department by department.
We should go department, but we have to do department by department.
Motion to move crime victims.
Motion for crime victims by Mr. Joyce, second by Mr. Mayo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Aging, I got a motion from Mr. Joyce. I have a second from Mr. Mayo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. The Veterans Bureau,
Motion
I got a
moved.
motion from Ms. Lakakis. I got a second from Mr. Mayo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Human Resources and Civil Service,
Motion.
got a motion from Ms. Lakakis. I got a second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Children, Youth, and Families.
And we're off.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
Mr. Grigg.
Thank you. Yes, youth summer programs, could someone delineate what exactly that is and where would the money go?
Sure, the idea is to conceptually issue an RFP and contract with youth services organizations, take Boys and Girls Club, any number of groups, maybe even church groups, who would operate either summer camp programs or some sort of youth development programs over the course of the summer.
Where would these programs be?
Anybody who responds according to whatever guidance and RFP the legislature
You
decides.
can look at what we do with grants every year, Mark, it's consistent. You know, the same organizations ask for grant funding, and a lot of it is for these summer youth programs, from mine to...
Is this a new program or an increase to a program? Looks like,
It's a new line item, but as
Yeah.
the chairman indicates, these types of programs have been funded out of the grant program.
okay, thank you. Thanks, Madam.
Thank you. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
I got a motion from Mr. Clay. I got a second from Mr. Mayo. All those in favor? Opposed? Water purification.
Motion to move.
I got a motion from Ms.
Second.
Lakakis. I got a second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Public Works. I got a motion from Mr. Bergdorf.
Yes.
I got a motion from Mr. Bergdorf and a second from Mr. Mayo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous.
General services is what you're on now.
Okay. All right, I'm sorry. General services?
Just a quick question. The
Mr. Mayo.
equipment repair and rental, I mean, isn't that pretty much the same year over year? What, I guess I just don't understand why it's being decreased 20,000 and 10,000. Does anybody have an explanation?
Again, taking a look at the general trending, both taking a look over the current year's spending patterns and the 4-year average, calibrating for what are standard purchases within the department. We took a conservative slice, although viewed in isolation here, they look to be substantial numbers, but the savings that accrued from year to year were substantial.
So instead of just carrying over the same number.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a motion from Mr. Clay. Can I get a second? I got a second from Mr. May. I got a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Not on
Thank you very much. All right. So now, we are moving on to the board of elections. Okay, Mr. Bergdorf.
The two commissioners made some fairly substantial requests that were pared down by the county executive to 5% in his submitted budget. Much like many of the other restructurings in other departments where people got substantial increases for increased responsibility, et cetera. What do these numbers represent, and how is the methodology determined?
So it was fairly straightforward. So any increases that were part of the county executive's proposed budget were reduced by 50%, and that's what reflects the decreases here.
Okay. Now, have we done that in any other department?
Not in that manner, as far as I know.
I think what we may end up doing is moving forward with numbers that are more consistent with what the county executive had proposed originally.
It's our understanding, and speaking with members from both sides of the aisle, that there's some appetite for revisiting this, and so the chairman is open to having those conversations going forward.
So this was
So we'll be
5%
reconsidering.
initially?
Yes.
Reduce it to...
Ms. McLean.
Thank you very much, Chairwoman. It was my understanding that they hired some outside people for, in fact, I saw them, for, what was it called, early voting. So what is the extra, what is this based, what were the requests, the significant increases based upon?
These are staff salaries. I think what you might be referring to is some temp help.
Well, that was temp help, but if they taking on extra responsibilities? I guess would be my question if they're asking for things that are above, say, like a 2% increase. That was just my question, what their increases, which as Mr. Bergdorf stated, were significant. What were they based upon extra responsibilities?
Well, I would refer you back.
That case during their presentation?
Yeah, they did, and I would refer you back
Because
to
I
the
was
questionnaire.
here.
Yeah.
I would refer you back to the questionnaire. that
Yes.
this is-
Taking over school district elections, all sorts of new voting laws.
The new voting laws don't, I mean, they had temporary help for early voting, so,
Well, some temporary and some traditional inspectors, but setting up, transport, all
they have
sorts
staff
of-
transporting.
They have,
I saw them. I was there on the day they were transporting, other staff that do the transport.
I think what we did, in response to Ms.
Thank you.
McLean Lane's comments, and also in consideration of the fact that the chair, has spoken to the board, I think we will be reconsidering this, and we can have more comments and answer your questions too, Ms. McLean Lane.
Thank you.
On, whether or not these positions do require a raise, or find out a little bit more about what their job responsibilities are. And also speak to, we do know there has been a lot of voter reform and how that has affected, the way the Board of Elections is being run. Okay? Any other comments? Mr. Mayor?
What I see, there are 12 increases, or 12 people who initially get the 5%. And I'm just looking to see how many people are actually employed at the Board of Elections, which
I think there's 24,
24. So, I mean, what were the criteria that half the people in the office get a raise and the other half don't?
Well, I think some get 2 and some get more, yeah.
So these were the recommendations of the board. So again, what we can do, when we ask the questions that Ms. McLean Lane has brought up, we'll also ask for that too.
Okay.
All right?
Good question.
Any other comments? Can I get a motion to move?
Motion.
We got a motion from Mr. Clay, second from Mr. Mayo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. All right, economic development, conservation, and planning.
Motion.
I have a motion to move by
Second.
Mr. Mayo. I got a second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. On to the coroners. Ms. McLean Lane?
Yes, we had talked about increasing these salaries just because they are the lowest paid elected officials. And in addition, as I mentioned, and as many of my colleagues here has gone on ride-alongs with the coroner's office to give us a breadth of exactly what they do on a daily basis. And, they were originally paid $22,900. I'm pleased to see a little bit of a bump here. I was hoping it could have been a little bit more, just because of the, for example, it's not just going out on a call. You have tons of paperwork in the morning, you're finding family, you are, et cetera, many times going with transport all the way out to Ellis, unfortunately. And I was hoping to see just a little bit more. I was also hoping to see a senior coroner's position. I realize that is a charter change, but, we can make a charter change. That's not complicated to do. We can pass a charter change. So I just wanted to extend my thoughts on it.
Okay, can you speak to the?
So the charter procedurally, to amend it, if you're going to amend the charter, you're going to have referendums associated with the charter. That is going to take some more time than what we have to do before the end of the year.
Sure.
So if that's something the legislature wants to address in the future, that's certainly...
Okay, fair enough.
Certainly something you can do.
Okay.
And I would like to say, Ms. McLean Lane, that is something that we realize that we're sorely in need of some changes in regards to.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman.
And in regards to whether it's a chief coroner, a senior coroner, or whatever it's going to be. But we do realize that that's a change that we do have to make there.
And I appreciate you recognizing that. Thank you very much.
Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Can I have a motion from Mr. Clay? I got a second from Mr. Bergdorf. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Recreation.
Tell us a little bit about the Altamont Fair program.
Excuse me, ma'am?
Altamont Fair?
Mr. Kakis?
Do you have any, could you give me a little, I don't remember seeing any or hearing much about the Altamont Fair, and I wondered if you could just give me one sentence about what that might involve.
Sure. So historically, going years back, the Altamont Fair was appropriated $5,000 annually by the county legislature. It was almost always tied to not just operating costs, but to some sort of a capital improvement, at the property. That fell by the wayside during financial hard times. It came to our attention, meaning that some of the members of the finance, some members were interested in reinstating it, so there you go.
Okay.
Is that, Madam Chair?
Mr. Grimm?
Did they have to submit some kind of request for us, or we just hand them $5,000?
There were a couple of ways we did it. It was like a reimbursement, like in some years we would, see their invoices from a plumber or a carpenter who did repairs and then reimbursements on that basis. So there's a couple of ways you could do it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I get a motion? I got a motion from Mr. Dress, got a second from Mr. Mayor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. All right, Cornell Cooperative Extension, Civic Center, and Soil and Water Conservation are all passed without change. So we'll take them one at a time.
Motion to move, cooperative extension.
Okay, Mr. Kakis, the motion for Cornell Cooperative Extension. Can I get a second? I got a second from Mr. Joyce. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. Civic Center. Got a motion from Mr. Bergdorf. I got a second from Mr. Joyce. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. And that's out, soil and water. Soil and water conservation. I got a motion from Mr. Clay. I got a second from Mr. Mayo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Our favorite department, the legislature.
I'm going to explain my vote. I'm going to vote no on the legislative budget, and I'm going to tell you why. Because as I was campaigning and going door to door, people asked me about the major raises in the county. And there was concern about it. And they asked me whether or not I would be getting a raise, whether county legislators would be getting a raise. And since the preliminary budget was already out and the legislature had not put in a raise, I probably told a dozen people that I would not be getting a raise, and so I need to be consistent in that regard. I am not troubled by anything that, other than that, but I gotta be able to look people in the eye who I said I would not be getting a raise.
So are you going to correct them when you do?
What do you mean?
Your comment that you will be getting a raise.
Well, if I do get a raise, I will do something appropriate with the money.
Did you see that big wallet he carries around?
That's right, we saw that yesterday.
He sits like this.
Just a personal thing.
I know. Can I get a motion?
Madam-
Do you have a question?
Yes, I
Mr.
do, Madam Chair. There's a number of raises here that are beyond 2%, and I would like an explanation if I could.
Sure. So, Mr. Green, I'll just address the majority office. So they're the only ones we put in here. In terms of the staff positions, as some or all of you are aware, we've had some recent staff changes in our office. There's going to be additional shifting of responsibilities that go along with some of the changes that we've recently had. In terms of the support staff, each and every one of them are going to be given additional responsibilities that will vary in level of time that's going to be needed for each of these employees. So we put in raises for each of them. Those are all so that would be the Director of Research. So you're looking at the Director of Research, majority. You're looking at the Confidential Secretary, majority. And on the next page, there is Senior Document Manager. It's on page 7. Page 7, those three are the raises for the staff. And again, due to additional responsibilities based on recent staff changes in the office. Additionally, also based on those staff changes, we are deleting the tax levy specialist out of our office, which is Mr. Grimm, $30,600. We're deleting the $94,297 for the Director of Majority Operation. And the new Senior Policy Analyst majority position is, again, the anticipation is to fill in some of these gaps created by the staff changes, but there's no one in that position currently. And am I missing anything here? Again, same thing with the Senior Policy Analyst part-time majority, that $47,148. So those are creations, those two positions, those aren't raises.
Okay, what about the senior citizen summer employment? That's a new, I don't remember seeing that before.
So the idea is to have that similar to the the youth employment program.
In the
Well,
past.
hired senior citizens for the summer internship or something?
Well, in the past, the county did employ we have senior employment. And so in order to return this, we decided to start on a part-time basis, for 6 weeks on the same order, more or less, as the summer youth employment program. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much for this. This has been under discussion for a couple of years now. And one of the things I have noticed with some of my sort of lower income senior populations is that they want to work. Some of them need to learn new skill sets. They haven't been in positions before where they had to use a computer, and this is an opportunity for them to learn new skill sets that they need to possibly go back into the workplace and have something on their resume that says that they were in, an employed position. But of course, this could help hopefully transition them That was the idea that was discussed a couple years ago. I'm assuming that that's still the idea. I know of, I mean, not that, everybody can recommend, obviously, a person, but, I do know that in my district that that's definitely very, very needed, to transition them back into the workplace, if at all possible.
Okay, I support that.
Mr. Simpson?
Yeah, at the risk of potentially being controversial, could you explain to me the equity implications of the decrease in the director majority operation and the decrease in the first deputy clerk chair?
I'm not sure I understand the question, Mert.
They're not really connected or comparable.
So the first deputy clerk,
I think we were a little confused about that too, Mert,
Yeah.
like what's going on with those two positions,
Yeah.
the chair and the deputy, or pardon me, the clerk and the first deputy clerk.
Yeah.
We were a little, I think, wondering what's happening
We're
there.
not get into personalities, but we're making a change in those positions, and so that the new potential clerk is recommended for that salary increase you see.
Open jobs.
Okay.
And the new first deputy clerk would be taking on a part-time role, so the current salary would go down by that.
Understood.
So it's that simple. It's not that simple when you start doing the math.
I understand.
and the director of majority operation,
The position's going away.
That's a deletion, Mert.
yeah, well, that might be a question. I mean, is that the best use of that money?
Yes, that's the opinion of the majority office.
And so, just so that I understand too, I do see two new positions in the majority's office too.
So yes, what's happening is you're deleting 124,000 in staff lines, and you're creating a senior policy analyst at 67,000, and you are creating a part-time, you'll see it here, the part-time senior policy analyst at 47. So those are the created positions which are created. The others are deletions.
And I guess the question I have is, if we had a need for a director of majority operations, why and how did that need go away? And is there nobody available to fill that position?
Is there nobody available to fill the position? So this is, I guess it's a staff restructuring based on recent staff changes, so I'm not sure I understand what the question is. The changes here are restructuring of the office based on recent staff changes. I'm not sure I understand what your question is.
So the responsibilities are going to be, sorry.
The responsibilities are going to be given to the current members of the office.
Okay, that's my
Right.
question.
The members of the office are now taking on significant additional responsibilities. That's the change.
And you created two new positions?
Right, and there's two new positions that will fill, again, to assist with the changes in responsibilities.
Well, I don't know, maybe this is not the place to discuss that, but if this is what I think it is, I think it's a problem, but.
I don't know what you mean by that.
Yeah, okay, well, maybe this is not the place to talk about that. We'll have to go offline about that, but right now, if this is what I think it is, I think it's a problem, but we can move on.
Any other comments? If not, I'll have a motion, I'll entertain a motion. I hear a motion from Mr. Mayo. Oh, excuse me.
I had a question, but I'll ask off the record, and I'll second the motion.
Okay, Mr. Joyce is second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I have two, sorry, yes. Two opposed, that's Mr. Grimm and Mr. Bergdorf. Okay, we are now on to the contingent account. No comments, can I get a motion?
I can comment.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, I just think $1.1 million is too much money for that contingent account. I think we can still be prudent and have less money in there. It's an addition of 325, but there's 775 was already put in the executive budget. I also think that we're really short on the hospital medical. That's going to be an issue. And I think some of that money can come from the contingency account. So I recognize the prudence of a contingency account, but I think 1.1 million is more than I think we need.
Your
Thank
comment
you.
is so noted, Mr. Grimm.
Thank you.
Are there any comments?
Motion moved.
Okay, I got a motion from Mr. Gross, got a second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Mr. Grimm. All right. Hospital and medical insurance.
Yeah, just my earlier comment, Madam Chair, was that's subject to negotiation. And
Yes.
If there isn't a change, yeah.
Just for clarity, this is
Yeah.
strictly related to retiree health care.
Yeah, the whole package, I think we're going to have to revisit it. Thanks.
Your comment is so noted. Can I get a motion? Got a motion from Mr. Berghoff, got a second from Mr. Mayo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. Now, these next three items, we take line by line. Mr. Thalen?
Yeah. Is it an increase?
Yes, these are increases.
Why do they have parentheses on them?
Can you do me a
That might
favor?
just be the form that it is, but they are increases.
Mr.
I think
Thalen,
it's,
could you do me a favor and just make sure that I know this is not a bunny grant? Can you just tell me what it is?
so you might have remembered it audited by last meeting? I get them confused. We've had a few meetings lately. The mental health and CYF came in with grants that extended through 2020, and you might have seen some changes in here at my request, adjustments per management budget requests in those departments. This is the offsetting revenue for those programmatic functions that we requested in those departments.
Okay, so can you tell me what that BHNNY stands for? Maybe, maybe not.
New York.
Better health.
Better health now, New York.
That's
it?
It is now.
That's a good one.
Better health for
I'll tell you what it
That's
is.
what it is. Better health in northeastern New York.
I don't have the original memo in front of me.
I like Bunny though, it has a nice ring.
I like the bunny.
The Bunny
I
grant.
thought I was looking at Bunny for a minute. Let me put my glasses back on.
Better Health for Northeast New York.
See, it is.
There you go.
Okay.
Good guessing.
All right, so we have to take this line by line, so I'm going to need, now, do you have anything else? Okay, we'll start with
These were budget neutral, and the represented changes were in the departments themselves that back this. So it's budget neutral.
okay, all three of these are budget neutral. So, but I still have to take them line by line. So we'll start with the Bunny grant. And can I get a motion? Motion. I got a motion from Mr. Clay, I got a second from Mr. Mayor. All those in favor? Opposed?
Carrots.
Unanimous. Child Advocacy Center.
Motion.
I got a motion from Mr. Mayor, I got a second from Mr. Clay. All those in favor? Opposed? Unanimous. And purchase of services for recipient? Is that?
Recent painting.
That's, oh, okay, all right, very good. All right, okay. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
I got a motion from Mr. Clay, I got a second from Mr. Mayor. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Okay. Motion, I get a motion to adjourn.
Yes,
Madam Chair,
please.
can I just ask a question? I think it's important, actually, nothing got changed, am I right?
That's correct. Again, just going back to the chairwoman's original point, this is to get this in front of a public hearing, so no decisions were necessarily made. You'll notice there were no amendments to the line items. That'll come after the public hearing.
What I would like, and because I know these things changed over the last day and so, is what is the, based on this budget, if this budget's approved, what is the actual tax cut, the rate? I mean, a specific number I'm looking for.
You and I spoke about this last night. I was unable to come up with an accurate number since that time, but...
No, I knew this is late breaking, so, but before the public hearing, it'd be important to have, what is the tax rate cut, what is the tax levy, and what's the total budget?
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, I appreciate it.
All right, so this will go in tomorrow on the 14th, and the public hearing is on the 19th of November.
Thank you.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
I got a motion from Mr. Grimm and a
There's a
second from
caucus
Mr.
after
Clay.
this.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.